The best of the best has returned. Brad Niemann is on the spotlight next. From the studios of Alethes Realty in beautiful downtown Russellville, we welcome you into the spotlight right here on Alethes Week. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Drew Britton. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today, 479-968-5668, or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. Let's dispense with the pleasantries. Let's talk real estate with my good buddy Brad Niemann. Third time's a charm. You've been here 3 times now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, but I guess so.
What are we going to talk about today?
I don't know, man. You lead, I'll follow.
One thing that we didn't talk about the last time, the last time that you were here was just a few weeks ago, actually, and a couple months ago, I guess now. And you were named best of the best real estate agent in the River Valley. Is that worn off yet? You still feeling that? How are we feeling now?
I'm grounded, man. I'm humbled, really.
One thing that we talked about last time was a lot of your personal interests, and I would encourage everybody to go back and watch that. It's on russellvilleliving.com. You can also find it on the Facebook archive. But one thing that I wanted to talk about today is this market. You know, anytime that we put out a video that is real estate related, seems like in 2021, we've all said the same thing. The market's crazy, interest rates are low, if the inventory is down. Not a lot's changed, has it?
No, keep waiting for that train to pull into the station and it's over. But listed a house Friday, got 9 offers, more than full price, frenzy, whole 9, just like it was 8 months ago.
And one of the things too, I'm a guy who, I work here and I'm looking at buying my first home. And to be completely honest with you, with the health scare that my wife had this year and the different things that we've had go on, buying a house is scary even for me working in this office. Talk to some of the people who are in my position. Buying your first home right now while interest rates are low is probably the best way to do it. It's also a really scary time.
Yeah, you can afford more house when interest rates are low, but everybody can afford more house when interest rates are low. And you couple that with people that are moving here from out of state that have cash, and it's really driven up prices. The thing you can do to take some of the anxiety out of that is to get pre-approved. If you do not have a letter from a bank, you stand 0 chance of buying a house right now.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because we have talked about that at great length. You and I actually did a 5-minute video several months ago about what does pre-approval look like. When somebody comes to you and says, hey, I'm pre-qualified for $150,000, that's not the same thing, is it?
No, we've positioned ourselves with a couple of mortgage companies. I can get you pre-approved in 5 minutes over the phone, or there's an app. I mean, it's painless. All they're looking for is income, job history, credit score. That's it. And if one of those things is lacking, we can tell you what to do to fix it so you can buy a house.
One thing that I thought was interesting, I've heard you say it, I've heard industry experts say it, Brent Preddy has said it. The quickest way to wealth in the United States of America is what?
Home ownership.
Why?
Because your equity is all, okay, you buy now at $100,000, 10 years it's worth $150. You got $50,000 worth of equity, and you've been paying on that mortgage this whole time. So instead of having $50,000 worth of equity, now you got 80.
Right.
And for somebody that, most people in Pope County, $80,000 is a windfall of cash. You stay in a house 10 years and you can make 80 grand. It's fantastic.
Right. It's life-changing, really, in some cases. My mother-in-law going through exactly that scenario right now.
Yep.
One thing that I think is interesting, too, especially when it comes to buying a house locally, is what industry analysts and agents have called the lack of inventory. How much inventory is actually on the market as we record this? We're recording this on a Tuesday. It will air sometime next week. But as of right now, how much inventory do we have?
I haven't looked over the last week, but we're super constrained. If we get a house that's priced correctly, it's gone in hours. Normally we have 4 or 5 months worth of inventory, and I'm just throwing out numbers here. Right now we have less than a month.
And when you say less than a month of inventory, what does that mean?
That just means that houses are turning over so fast that there's nothing out there. If you're looking for a house right now, there's nothing to buy. That's why there's one of the reasons why there's so many people looking. There's nothing out there to buy.
Well, and when in terms of inventory too, when you say, well, there's a month worth of inventory, basically that breaks down to if no other houses came on the market for a month,
We'd be out.
You'd be completely out of inventory.
That's right.
Lumber prices seem to have gone down some, at least a little bit. What are the development projects looking like?
They have gone down, and that's a contributing factor to this whole thing. But I know a lot of people that built a house over the last 2 years. I mean, they're not worried about the price of lumber. They're not worried about what it costs because they want to. When somebody wants to build a house and they have the wherewithal to do that, they're going to get exactly what they want, as opposed to buying somebody's used house and you're going to have to try to make it work.
I hear this phrase a lot. Well, I'm going to go find me a house with 5-6 acres out in the middle of what. I mean, everybody seems to want exactly that.
Yeah,
let's be realistic. Where are they?
Yeah, this picturesque. Everybody calls and says, I want a house, not in town but close to town, on 3 acres for $150,000. That's kind of like a unicorn.
Right.
They're very few and far between.
Right. You'll see one maybe once or twice, but you don't see them often.
Yeah, they're like Sasquatch. They're sightings of those, but they're not real.
You know, and here brings up an interesting question. What is more common here locally?
As far as
just homes. I mean, I say to you, hey, I want 3 acres out in town. Okay, that's a unicorn. What's a little more common?
Our bread and butter is 150 to 200,000 brick, 3-bedroom, 2-bath in town, as close as this building as we can find it.
When people are working with you, and I've personally dealt with you. I mean, here's a red chair testimonial, folks. This is not a lie. When my family decided to sell their house, I used Brad Niemann. So there's your red chair out there. We used you. When people come to you and they say, hey, what do we do the moment we list? You say,
in this market, you start packing.
How quick are we talking?
Hours. And, you know, when we list a house now, what we're typically doing is we have some kind of date out here in the future that we're going to take offers, and we're going to respond by, like if we listed on Friday at 5, we're going to take offers till Sunday at 1, and then we're going to look at everything. And that seems to get our sellers a little bit more money because it does create kind of a frenzy, which is good for our folks.
I have watched. I've been here for about a year now, and I have learned a lot about real estate through osmosis, as it were. One thing that I have seen pretty frequently is there's this real anxiety among people, especially first-time home buyers. And I know, God help me, when Jamie and I go to buy our first house, I'm going to be this guy. Even working here, I'm going to be this guy. You work with a lot of folks who are anxious. They're worried about the process. From beginning to end, though, if you have your ducks in a row, this process doesn't have to be painful.
It does not. If you're buying a house, if you're pre-approved, it's going to fall right into place, and then I'm going to make it as seamless as possible. Not that we're not going to have bumps in the road.
Sure.
But I've been doing this long enough that I can see a problem before it happens and fix it before it becomes an issue.
How long have you been doing this?
My 19-year anniversary will be January 9th.
When we talked previously, you told a story about you were a furniture salesman.
Yep.
You traveled all over the country. Then you just kind of fell into real estate.
Yeah, I sold furniture out west, you know, Colorado Springs, Phoenix. We came back here, and I started working at Hank's Fine Furniture. And I worked there about 2 months, and they said, hey, we've got a position open in Destin. If you want to be a manager with our company, you can move down there, and, you know, sky's the limit. So I came home and told Monica, I said, great news, we're moving. And she said, no, we're not. And I figured out pretty quick after that happened twice that we probably weren't going to move again.
Right, like you were here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I at that point in time, I needed to, you know, if you're just a salesperson in a store and there's no room for advancement, I don't thrive in that environment. I've got to constantly have some kind of challenge. So I told her, I said, you know, James Ford has been working with my mom and dad, and he called me the other day and said he thought I would be good at real estate. and I want to give it a shot. And I said, well, I'll get in it. We'll give it 6 months. If nothing happens, it's highway time. We'll move. And she agreed to that. And it's just, here I am,
That
19 years later.
Yeah, that 6 months turned into 19 years later. I always found your story fascinating too. You're a bit of a history buff. In fact, you're a major history buff.
Yep.
Let's go back for a moment to the great bean debate that we did a few months ago, which was one of the dumbest campaigns we've ever done. But it was effective. Your whole speech on why you were anti-bean was grounded in history. Was there ever a thought in your mind of, I'm going to teach history?
That's what I went to college for. I was either going to be a high school teacher or more advanced. I didn't really have a plan, but I just knew I wasn't good at science. I wasn't good at math, and history was my only vehicle there to have some kind of career. So yeah, that's what I was going to do. And then when we got out of tech, we kind of looked around here and said, boy, there's not a lot of opportunity here. So we just picked a place and moved to Colorado Springs.
Let's go back to real estate for a little bit.
Yep.
In dealing with my mother-in-law and dealing with the folks who I have dealt with, I'm not an agent, by the way. I think I need to make sure that is clear to know. But in just some of the dealings that I've seen, I've watched a lot of people say, "Well, hey, I just put in brand new floors in my home, awesome, and I've got a swimming pool, and I've got this big back deck, and I've got a sunroom, and all these things that should increase the value of my home." And here's what astounded me. Sometimes those things that you think naturally would make the price of a home increase doesn't do a thing at all for it. Why?
It depends on where you are and what you're doing. I've had sellers say, I just put a roof on, so my house is worth X amount more. Every house has to have a roof. Same thing with the heat and air system. 6 months old, it's worth, I spent $8,000, so I want $8,000 more for the house. Every house has to have heat and air. And actually, a deck or a nice patio outside is worth more dollar for dollar than a bathroom remodel. Gives you another place to go. It's another area outside your home that you can enjoy life. So, and if you're thinking about selling your house, I can come out and say, do this, don't do that. Because I don't want to see, there's no sense in spending $1 just to get $1 back. Right. If you can't double your return or more, there's no reason to do that.
There are so many people too who have that notion of, well, we just painted in here, or I dressed the house very, very well. All of these things that because we've put the work in and because we've invested the money, then we believe that actually increases the value of the home. That's not how the value of the home is determined, though, is it?
Typically, in the market we were in 3-4 years ago, real estate in Russellville was a price war and a beauty contest. You had to be priced correctly and your house had to be perfect. Right now, your house doesn't have to be perfect. There's people fighting over them. I just looked at a house yesterday and the guy was talking about, do you think I need to refinish my cabinets? And I was like, if it was 2015, absolutely. But today, no, you do not. There'll be people lined up for your house because of where it is and what it is.
How much have out-of-state buyers influenced where we are now?
Tons. They're driving this up. Somebody in Oregon sells a 1,500 square foot house for $600,000. They come to Arkansas, 1,500 square foot house is $200,000. It's a bargain, and they've got cash, and they don't care to pay a little more. They want to get out of wherever they are and get here.
The question too becomes, if you have a lot of out-of-state buyers in a tight inventory market already, is it going to put the squeeze on people who may be more like in my position, who are first-time home buyers, or they've bought their first house and they're looking for that forever home? Is there more of a squeeze put on those buyers?
It has. I'm working with a lot of people right now that are super frustrated because they've been beat out at time after time after time, and there's no remedy for that. You just have to put your best foot forward. And I've always told people, if this is what you're willing to pay and you don't want to go any higher than that and you don't get the house, honestly, you haven't lost anything. Let's just put your best foot forward. We'll shoot them your best offer and pray and hope for the best.
It's strange to me. When I got into this, I had a kind of a preconceived notion about what real estate was, as I think everybody does.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people, and this is not to disparage anybody, but I saw a lot of people, not in this office, but across the country who had this opinion that, hey, you could do real estate part-time, make a lot of money, and it's a walk in the park. From what I have seen in this office over the last year, that could not be further from the truth, could it?
You can dabble in this part time, but you're not going to have the experience and the education and the know-how that you're going to need as if you were doing it full time all the time every day. Somebody told me a long time ago that you can be successful working half days. Doesn't matter which 12 hours you pick.
Right.
This is a full-time job, man, and there's a little over 200 people that are licensed realtors in the city of Russellville right now, in our board, whatever it's called now. And there are probably 25 people that are actually full-time, really trying to make a living. And everyone in this office falls into that category.
Everybody in this office does fall into that category. Yep. I think too sometimes that it's always been this question in my mind, especially before I got here, was, well, I mean, if I'm selling a house and I own it, why do I need a realtor? I now equate that to trying to defend yourself in a jury trial. It's not necessarily the same, but you're going to have different results if you don't use the professionals.
Man, I can Google how to fly a 747. You don't want me flying the plane.
Right.
I want the pilot flying the plane. That guy knows what he's doing.
What are the advantages to having a realtor, real estate agent on your side?
In this market, if you're a seller, we've got a tried and proven plan that's going to get you the most money possible as quickly as possible, and our deals close. We know what we're doing. As a buyer, we're going to help you get pre-approved, and we're going to help you put the best offer together and present it in the most favorable light and try to get it accepted.
Changing topics, shifting gears a little bit, only a little bit. Your daughter is coming to be a guest on this show at some point pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'm curious what real estate family life looks like.
Actually, when I very first started, I worked nonstop for 3, 4, 5 years. Just every opportunity I had, I would leave dinner to go show a house or go list a house, kind of like a fireman. I was just on call all the time. And then after that, I realized I had a pretty sweet gig. I've never missed a dance recital. I've never missed a ball game. I'm all at birthdays. I'm available. It's once you've kind of achieved some kind of balance, it's fantastic.
How long did it take to achieve that balance?
4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I was younger, and I'm still driven, but I was super driven just career-wise, and I really wanted to make this work because we chose to come back here to raise our kids, and I wanted to live here.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Plus, I'm going to hit you with something we've never done with you on the show. All right?
Sounds good.
We're going to do that right after this timeout. You're watching The Spotlight on Alethes Live. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Brad with Alethes Realty. At Alethes, we pride ourselves on doing things differently. That's why we've invested in some pretty cool technology that sets us apart from our competition. We bought a Matterport camera. This allows us to create a 3D virtual tour like nothing else available in our area. It gives the user an opportunity to explore every inch of the house without actually being there. This works wonders in a regular market, but it's been a godsend through the pandemic. It's cool for buyers, but the real benefit belongs to the seller. You see, homes with a Matterport tour cut down on a number of showings because the buyers have already seen the house. They're coming to buy it. Homes with a Matterport tour sell faster and for more money than ones without. The home playing in the background sold in 4 hours with a more than full price offer. If you're interested in selling your home and like what you see, give us a call. We're unmatched in our approach to marketing, and we'd love to show you everything that we do. Thanks so much. Give us a call today.
We welcome you back into the Spotlight, presented as always by Alethes Realty. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today, 479-968-5668. Cruise on over to RussellvilleLiving.com. We are sitting down with the 2021 Best of the Best in the River Valley, Brad Niemann. Hey, we had a lot of fun a few weeks ago eating some chili and competing at Fall Fest. Talking to me a little bit about it.
We'd never done that before, and I had no idea what to expect, and it was awesome. We would have won, man, but we ran out of chili, and next year, I'm coming for you, Sean Jackson. I'm coming for you.
Yeah, the gauntlet has been laid down. And here's something that other people don't know. You know, I covered sports for a long time. I covered the Razorbacks. I covered sport for a long time. And in every press conference, it did not matter who I was talking to. Every coach said the same thing. You know, we just didn't execute well. You know, we need to hit on all cylinders. It's a game of inches. If we do these things and make these corrections, and I know that we're going to be able to win the next time around. Monday morning after Fall Fest,
I broke it down, man.
that was you. Coach Niemann was going through the X's and O's of the chili.
Yeah, I had 5 different bullet points there, and if we'd have just hit 1 out of the 5, we'd have won. So,
Were you driving Monica crazy that weekend?
yeah, a little bit.
Just driving her insane?
Yeah, there were just a couple of times where she told me to stop.
Just chill. We're going to do it again next year.
Yeah.
Now there was a conversation too, and I won't say with whom. I'll give a hint that he's been a guest on the show recently. That we would combine our efforts, and we'd knock off the grand champion. We're going to knock off I think it's Bank of England.
Yeah, it
right?
is. Yeah.
But all of us are going to just come for Bank of England, and then once we have slayed the beast, then it's a free for all.
Yeah.
Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, kind of a thing. So the gauntlet's been laid down. It's one of the things we've been doing on the show here lately that I've really enjoyed, and I've never done this with you. Is I've got a thing on my phone that generates random questions.
Okay.
Just rapid fire, hit you with them. We'll find out a little bit more about Brad Niemann. Are you ready?
I guess so.
Let's see what happens. What word do you hate hearing?
Deny.
Deny?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite food?
Oh my gosh. Seafood.
Who is your hero?
My dad.
Your dad. Sam Niemann, who was a guest on this show. Outstanding guy. Where did you grow up?
Hector.
Hector, you were a Wildcat. You were a basketball guy too, weren't you?
I love basketball, man.
Bit of a basketball star?
Under Hector standards, maybe, but I was a gym rat. That's all I did when I was growing up, and my knees let me know it all the time.
When I first got here, you and I went to Hector to do a teacher's appreciation thing back in, I think it was February. I was very fresh.
Yeah, I think so.
You go to the old Hector gym, and right after we do that presentation, you take a ball and you nail a 3. And I didn't get it on camera, and I know I'm the worst, but it's like, all right, Niemann may still have it.
Well, I hadn't been on that gym floor since 1991, so that was got chills that day.
What is your favorite store?
Probably like Bass Pro.
Bass Pro. That's a good answer. I like Bass Pro.
Yeah.
What is your favorite type of music?
Rock and roll, classic rock and roll.
If there was a band you had to listen to for a full day, was there a band that you could do that to?
Tom Petty.
Tom Petty.
My biggest
Heartbreakers.
regret is not seeing Tom Petty.
What has been your favorite age so far?
Probably the age that I am right now.
Right, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your go-to lazy dinner?
Like chicken pot pie pretty good.
The homemade chicken pot pies or
Yeah.
the banquet chicken pot pies?
Homemade.
Now, you talked about homemade. There's very, very little frozen food in your house, I'm guessing.
I don't have a lot of processed food. You tasted my soup yesterday.
That soup was pretty dadgum good.
Yeah,
And
except
that
for the
was-
noodles. I grew everything.
Right, you
Yeah.
grew everything in that except for the noodles. That was pretty good stuff. And and that's pretty much the basis for all of your meals. You grow pretty much everything.
As much as I can, we use what we grow.
Have you ever written a song for someone?
No.
No. Have you ever performed a song for someone?
Badly, yes.
Badly. What's the story there?
Oh, I can't remember. Charlie and Kathy Parker used to have a shrimp boil, and Rob was on the back porch, and I got involved, and it was ugly.
With Rob McCormick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't talk about why that happened, right? What is your hidden talent?
I don't think I have a hidden talent. I think everything I do well, everyone pretty much sees.
Your favorite Disney character?
Dumbo.
Why Dumbo?
I like the flying elephant, man.
If you were to write a book, what would the book be about?
Probably gardening.
gardening. I guessed that. When I saw that question pop up, that's what I thought you would probably say. All right, because when we've got one more segment to do.
Okay.
Here lately, we've been doing something kind of crazy with the people who have been on here or who know me a little bit better.
Yep.
And we're going to do it with you next. Right after this timeout, Brad hosts the show. Don't go anywhere. More Spotlight right after this. We welcome you back to the Spotlight, presented as always by Alethes Realty Life. Hey, remember, if you can't get enough of the Spotlight, you can always go back to RussellvilleLiving.com, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, also on YouTube, and on RussellvilleLiving.com. Plus, every Friday morning at the new time slot, 7:30, KARV presents Alethes Realty Spotlight. I host that show. We always have some great guests. Last week we had Jeremy Hames, wonderful chef over at the Gunslinging Burger. We've always got some great guests on that show. So that's Friday morning at 7:30. Okay, Brad. Been doing this a lot lately, and it's yielded some interesting results. In fact, when I let Jamie McClendon do this last week, she told the story about how I split my pants completely down the middle in the middle of the office. So she just took the opportunity to completely humiliate and embarrass me. I have said that since I put you guys on the hot seat all the time, and I don't let you know what I'm going to do before I do it, it's only fair that for the last 5 minutes or so of the show, that I hand you the reins and say, do what you're going to do. Now, here's the thing. I have specifically held off doing this with you for a while because I know you are going to be good at it. So I'm a little bit concerned. So
No.
We've got 4 minutes left. Brad, the show is yours.
Okay. I guess my first question is, before you started working here, when you knew you were going to come, what did you expect?
Not this.
I was going to add, my next question was, how is it different than what you expected?
I didn't know what to expect. When Brent and I got together originally, the whole idea was I was going to be coming in to help do some corporate training videos for you guys.
I remember.
That was the whole idea. I was just coming in to read. You know, apparently I've got one talent, and that's looking into a camera and talking. And so that was the plan. As we started talking, we figured out that our core values were very similar. And I came aboard here, but I had no idea what we were doing. We didn't have a whole lot of social activity. Pretty good in the community, but still fairly small. I had no idea what we were planning on doing. I had no idea what this was going to look like. And I have told the story before that I've been in my office and random pieces of equipment would start showing up that I know I did not order. I had a 2-year plan that I pitched to him when we got here. And on my first day, he said, "Can you do your 2-year plan in 1 year?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we can." And then he said, "Can you do that 1-year plan in 6 months?" So here we are. It doesn't look anything like I thought it was going to look at this point, but I'm happy with where we are.
Yeah, if you don't like change, this is not a good environment, is it?
Oh, no, that's the one constant around Alethes, and it's not a bad thing. When I was on staff at Journey Church for 7 years. One of their core principles, and it is ingrained in my DNA, is that growing things change. So, if you're not changing, you're very likely not growing. Now, change for the sake of change is unhealthy, but change because of growth is always healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. When you were in school and you were like getting ready for your career, what did you envision? Where did you think you would be at this point?
At this point, okay, it's interesting because this is going to sound a little cocky. When I was 19, I was hired at Channel 7. I was one of the youngest producers in America at one point. And so I made a list of all the things that I wanted to accomplish by the time I was 30. I wanted to be on national TV. I wanted to do national radio. I wanted to be a part of an Emmy award-winning broadcast, and I wanted to anchor. And I did all of those things before I was 20. And so I don't know how to answer that because I had already done what I wanted to do.
Yep.
So I had fun with it. My 20s were all based on going and doing different TV shows and radio shows and covering the Razorbacks and getting to hang out with famous sports figures. I interviewed Barry Sanders, who's my favorite NFL player, for over an hour and a half.
That's cool.
That's the kind of stuff that I got to do, but I didn't know where it was going to take me. I knew it had drastically changed in 2015 when I met Jamie. When Jamie showed up, none of the TV stuff mattered anymore. And
that leads me to my next question. You and I have something in common, and we both married up.
oh, unquestionably, did we outkick our coverage?
So, how did that happen? How did you guys meet? I don't know the story.
Jamie and I tried our very best every way we could to screw it up before it happened. The weird story is that Jamie and I actually met at her dad's funeral.
That's a weird place to pick up chicks, man.
Yeah, well, okay. It's the full story is even weirder, but we can't get there. She was going through a divorce at the time that her dad died, and I was on staff at the Journey where her mom had been going to church for years.
Yeah.
So I actually helped plan and execute her dad's funeral, and that's where we met. Her mom set us up. Pat was adamant about Jamie dating somebody who believed in God and was really focused in on that. So April the 27th, 2015 at 10 a.m., we sat down for our first coffee at Starbucks. It's funny that we were talking about this because we talked about this last night. We both knew the other one was it that day, but we were terrified and tried every way we could to mess it up. We broke up, we dated other people, and then one day she showed up at my house and said, "This is dumb," and never left. And here we are. Yeah. There's a whole lot of history we're leaving out there, but yeah, that's kind of how that went down.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Kind of like when somebody's looking for a house. If you don't know it's the house for you, the first 3 steps through the door, I tell them don't do anything. It's like falling in love, and you don't mean to fall in love. You just know.
Right. Was that the same for you and Monica?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever get to a place, especially with Monica, where you're thinking, why is she with me?
Just daily. Yeah.
Like I still have those moments where I look at her and I'm going, what are you doing? Why did you pick me?
I know. I scratch my head all the time. Why she put up with me? But yeah.
How did y'all meet?
We went to college together, and I knew of her, and we had friends in common, and we'd like all meet and go eat or whatever. But I never really went out with her until my 23rd birthday party, and the next day I told one of my friends, I was like, I'm going to marry that gal. That's my wife.
It's funny you say that because after our second date, after mine and Jamie's second date, I called my mom and I told her, I said, listen, I just met the girl I'm going to marry.
Yep, I just knew.
I did too. I mean, even when we were seeing other people and we had broke up, we both knew. It was a strange thing. We just knew it was going to happen.
And I've told people before the absolute best decision I've ever made is picking the mother of my children.
Yeah.
And my kids turned out fantastic.
I inherited a daughter on that deal. And she actually, this is what was funny. Adora chose me long before Jamie ever accepted the fact that this was going to be a thing. Adora knew that Jamie and I were going to get married way before we ever accepted it. Way before we ever accepted it. And it was just funny because Adora had a stroke at birth. So the first 2 to 3 years of her life, she had some trouble. She didn't really, attach. She attached to people, but it was just different. When I first met that child, it's been like this ever since. She has not let go of me, and so she knew long before we did. I guess
that's an awesome feeling.
Yeah, I tell people all the time. When they say, well, I can't wait for you to have one of your own. Well, I do. Your kid didn't get to pick you, but my kid picked me.
Yeah.
And that's better in my eyes. You know, like
Yep.
they didn't have to pick me, but they did.
She got to see what she was buying before she got it.
Right. She tried it and then still bought it. Hey, Brad, what do people need to know about the market right now? If they're fearful about selling or buying, what do they need to know?
If you pick somebody in this office, you're going to get the absolute best care, and it's a Cadillac. Everything is just streamlined. It's going to be stressful. Buying and selling a house is stressful. One of the questions they ask at the title company, there's a whole list of things. Do you owe child support? Have you declared bankruptcy? Are you of sound mind? No one is of sound mind at the closing table. They've just gone through this whole process. It's all just frazzled, but we make it so that it's not intimidating and it's not daunting. We try to make it fun.
And here's what's interesting. While I'm not an agent, I'm an integral part of making sure that people get their homes bought and sold. Sadie, transaction coordinator, Caleb, all of these folks who work in this building all have one goal in mind, and that is to make sure that you have your home taken care of, whether you're buying or selling. Brad, we've already done 35 minutes, brother.
Doesn't seem like it, does it?
It does not seem like it at all. Hey, you made a pretty good host. You might. Am I in danger of losing this show?
I don't know. Dick Cavett, look out.
Now that's a reference that some of our audience is going to get, but not all of them. Brad, thanks so much, and thank you for joining us today on the Spotlight. As always, if you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today, 479-968-5668, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.